Get Boston Sports Original on the go
wherever you go.
Just download the Odyssey app.
We're right back to it. It's KJ Carson on WEEI.
Shout out to all your computers on Friday, Thursday and Friday. What the hell's going on the blue screen? KJ WEEI 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. CrowdStrike, boy, down 11% in after-hours trading. For those who can get on. Nico, did you see what happened with computers around the world?
I did see it. Luckily, I was not affected, but I did hear about it.
If we're getting little samples of what the end of the world may look like, I'm going to put blue screen of death on everybody's computer. And of course, all of you probably have one friend that said, well, I had no problems. I have a Mac. You got people, people like that. Like, yeah, my computer's, yeah, we had no problems. We had a Mac. What a nightmare. CrowdStrike. Sell in terms of trading places. Sell. All right, still to come, would you rather more likely to before we get out of here at 12 o'clock. Getting you ready for Fitzy and Lion. So John and I have kind of like a separation today, kind of like a mini Haitian divorce, if you will. All right, been talking Drake Maye and the Brandon Aiyuk situation about the talks of him wanting to be traded. Look, the Patriots are going to be a name that's mixed in there because of the high price that they can afford to bring in and spend. But one, this is not an organization that spends. And two, I've been giving a couple of reasons that I'll get to, again, if you missed any of them. 617-779-7937 text line. Let's go to Steve. Steve, thanks for calling. You want to talk Drake Maye. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to go by what I heard. Drake Maye needs a gap year, needs whatever he needs. I also heard during the draft he's Josh Allen light. So I don't think there's a direct correlation to what's going to happen here with Mac Jones because Mac Jones was ready, football ready. And I don't think we already know there's no direct correlation between the veterans that are here. So here's the deal with Drake Maye. He will try to revert to his legs like Josh Allen is still doing to this day. And, not waiting for the play to open up, not reading, not this, not that. What I have a problem with is this misunderstanding of what happened here with Mac Jones. He was gun shy. Belichick ruined him, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? He didn't have any weapons, and he didn't have any time on the offensive line. Does those sound like familiar themes that we're hearing this year?
If a kid continues to fail it,
does that sound like problems we have this year?
If a kid continues to fail a test in the class, do you give him a C just for effort? If he continues to fail, if you continue to get Fs in class, do you just give him a C as a grade because of his effort? No one ever said that Mac Jones didn't give an effort. No. We're just saying that he just didn't have the talent to be in the NFL.
No. Okay, then let me complete my thought. When Mac Jones had time, when the offensive line gave him time, he completed or put passes in the hands of this garbage he had for wide receivers. And that's where you people, and I may be the only flipping guy on the radio, you have to go back.
You're on the phone. You're not on the radio.
When he had time, he made the passes. He also, which no one wants to.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Steve.
Winning percentage in his class.
Wait, Steve. Let me ask you this.
He had the best winning percentage in his class.
Is the NFL is the NFL designed for quarterbacks to have a bunch of time?
We're not talking about a bunch of time. We're talking he had the least amount of time. No, it's not. But he had the least amount of time.
The answer would be no.
Now all right. Well, everything you want to make happen.
So does it not then become decision making?
You want to go get Brandon Aiyuk?
No,
really?
I don't want him.
Why?
I mean, I like him, but I don't think he's set up.
Why? Yeah. Because he's got a lousy offensive room. He's got a lousy wide receiver. Pro Football Focus said the worst, and he's got one of the worst offensive lines in football. So guess what? They botched this whole thing up because you brought a project in that needs everything you can't give him. You should have deferred that pick. You should have loaded up with people you needed, got another first-round pick. You should have kept Mac Jones for $2.5 million, and then went out and got the lucky loser for $8 million. And you would have had just what you needed. You'd have had a guy down the line, Penix, Nix, whoever, and you'd have had a better result today. You're taking a wish upon a wish. It's like go to the Trevi Fountain and flipping a coin from hoping it bounces in. Going to get a bounce off somebody's head down at the front of the fountain and put it in. Okay, that's how far away this whole pick is. This whole pick is with this kid by what it is, because you haven't undone the fatal flaws of any quarterback.
Steve,
you need time.
Steve, it's always a pleasure when you call.
And receive it.
Yeah, we got to get back to the show here. Here's what I want to say about the Patriots situation. What was the kid's name? Ellinger from Texas, when he was the quarterback for the Colts a couple of years. You know the Colts had one of the best offensive lines that year, but they sucked. Remember when Nico, you remember when they played the game here and it was just like, oh my God, nobody will score.
Yes. Yep.
If your quarterback does not have it in between the ears, it doesn't matter what the physical is, unless you're going after a guy who absolutely can give you 35 yards a game if they need to by their legs. If there's an example of where you really don't have the talent to be in the NFL, but you're still there because you can do something that no one expects to do, look at Daniel Jones in New York. Daniel Jones is what all Mac Jones had to do was be able to have an arm. Because here's the thing, in the NFL, nobody's really got a whole lot of time to stand back there. There's no every defense that's coming at you, you can send 6 guys, you can send 7 guys, you can send 8 guys on the rush. 8 is always going to be more than 5. So it's all about how quick can they process. Mac Jones was a slow processor. And I said that Mac Jones would have benefited by watching a diminishing processor with no arm, Cam Newton, make those mistakes out there. Hell, if the team went 1-4, 1-5, and then you put Mac Jones in there, at least he can see what mistakes look like by a professional. When you go in there making mistakes that you weren't making in college, because the college game was easier for you, you had talent all around you. I mean, Alabama playing anybody outside of Georgia when he was there was not a competitive game. So when you get to the pros, you can only go by what you know and what you've seen in live action. So if you put him in right away and this is your new live action, damn, their worst player is better than anybody that I played against or with at Alabama in terms of rush, in terms of talent. With Drake Maye, this is why I say let him observe. Are you going to get better quality from Jacoby Brissett than you were going to get from Cam? Absolutely. Is the team suddenly going to set the league on fire and shock people? No. Drake Maye needs to be able to sit there and see how things are done right and what happens when things go wrong. It helps with the processing. If the processing is better, then the natural talents can then be applied in a more balanced way. Mac Jones was like, okay, everybody said you were ready for the NFL. Your head was there. Remember that? Mac Jones, of all the quarterbacks coming in the league, was the most NFL ready until he got into the NFL. You can't do that again with Drake Maye, even though he's got better talents, physical talents than Mac Jones. No one's saying that's not the case. What's going on upstairs? Okay, so back to the Brandon Aiyuk and why I said yes and why I said no. Yes, immediate wide receiver 1, defenses have to game plan for him. 2, first down and touchdown machine. 8 out of every 10 catches that he has have been for first downs or touchdowns, and that is desperately needed here. Yes, rookie quarterback will have one of the best tools in the league at that position. Why no? Do you want to pay that high cost that likely loses you a high first-round pick next year, and a large sum of your cap space is going to be eaten up by one player, and what if he doesn't sign the extension? Because he's going to have that play there. He doesn't have to sign the extension, and San Francisco doesn't have to trade him. Does a high-ticket receiver equate to building a winner? Teams with top 10 paid receivers and undefined quarterbacks? Raiders, Tennessee, Chicago. All of those quarterback situations, you would almost say Drake Maye could be better in those situations after 4 or 5 games in the league. So maybe you don't have to go that route. And Brandon Aiyuk has been very public, and his brother, about what they're not happy about and so forth all over social media. That ain't going to fly in New England, bro. So what I said going to the break here about 10 minutes ago was, man, there's a really nice list of free agents available at the end of this season that you could say either these are number one guys or a 1A guy that they all better than what the Patriots have. So let me start with Amari Cooper, who will be 29 at the end of the season. And what's happening in Cleveland is if Deshaun Watson can't prove his value and worth, Cleveland will not have the room to extend Amari Cooper when you've paid all that money to Deshaun Watson. You still got plenty of tread on Amari Cooper's tires. This guy's a pro's pro. He is now gone from superstar enigma to, hey, you put this guy in the right situation. He knows what it's like to be in a situation in Cleveland where everything isn't great, and he knows what it's like to be with a lot of noise when he played in Dallas. So Amari Cooper is someone you say, hey, if we wait till free agency, he won't be one of these guys that can get the Aiyuk money, or we'll see where it goes, CeeDee Lamb money. So Amari Cooper is one of those guys that I would say, you know what? Let's keep an eye on that situation because oh, by the way, yeah, Alex Van Pelt is here. So if you've got that situation going, he might be my number one target as a free agent receiver at the end of the season to be that number one. Because again, remember, if we're saying that Drake Maye's not going to play right away, then why potentially go get a high big receiver right now that's going to go through a losing season and maybe on their last year of a deal? I could be like, I'm out of here. Chris Godwin, Tampa. I think we missed out on him a couple years ago, but things were so crazy. My concern are his injuries, but he's 27 years old. I wouldn't put him as a top-line receiver as I would have maybe 2 years ago, but now as a 1A receiver and a considerably lower number. But still would be better than any of the receivers that you have in the locker room right now. To me, he would be kind of like what the old Patriots would do. We still have to see if there's a new Patriots that have applied, that's going to spend a little bit of money, go after some people. This wouldn't be like getting Mohamed Sanu for Tom Brady. Like, how do you get a guy who's been such a loyal spouse and partner for all these years, and year 25 you get him a color TV? That was the Sanu pick. Stephon Diggs is on a 1-year deal with Houston. He's 30. He'll be 30 at the end of the deal. Now, questions you may have about him are the same questions you have about, being outspoken, about being unhappy. You may not want to put that on a rookie quarterback, but if you can get him for shorter years, the money's going to be a little lower on an extension than the others are doing. He may be the guy, hey, I know the division. I know what Buffalo wants to do as defense. This may be where we go with, and it may not cost us as much, but I would be concerned because let's say he wants 3 years, that puts him at 33 at the end of the deal. I still think you would still get 3 profitable years out of him. It may be lower number, but he does know the division, but he also could be a malcontent. So right now I would say Cooper 1, Diggs 2, Godwin 3 in terms of targets for free agency as receivers right now. So Diggs would be my second choice after Amari Cooper. T. Higgins, that name is up right now. They couldn't come to an agreement with Cincinnati. The reason why Cincinnati couldn't come to an agreement, I think, is because they don't want to pay such a high number for the injuries he's coming off of, though he's 25. But I would put him in a category of Aiyuk, not in terms of talent. We're not going to go there. But in terms of, hey, is this guy going to ask for an exorbitant amount of money and find himself potentially being unhappy in a rebuild? Because if you're going from a situation where you're the number 2 with Jamar Chase, you are used to some things. And if you feel like you're not going to be able to get off the way Jamar Chase does because your quarterback isn't doing, you could be a bit discontent. I like T. Higgins, but I would put him above Godwin, but below Diggs. So Amari Cooper 1, Diggs 2, T. Higgins 3, Chris Godwin 4. Oh, this one is salivating. And you just hope they mess it up so badly that it can become reality. CeeDee Lamb will be a free agent at the end of the season. And Dallas has to figure out how are they going to make all these pieces fit? I got to pay Dak. I've got to pay CeeDee Lamb. I got to pay my guy on defense. So I got to take care of many things. Jerry Jones, which is a smart business deal until it comes due, is he backloaded a lot of these guys' contracts. But the idea is, all right, you want to win like a Super Bowl somewhere in there, and that hasn't happened. So no, all this stuff is coming due. The question would be, would CeeDee Lamb want to come and be part of something that's brand new? But you feel like if you can get CeeDee Lamb at 24 off of what he's coming off of, and you can get him to a 5-year deal, you could have him and not lose his rights before he's 30. So that would be a perfect pairing with Drake Maye to say, okay, we can get CeeDee Lamb and pair him with Drake Maye for another 5 years, meaning that you'll get a fair evaluation of a superstar receiver and a budding quarterback, and if they can work together, then if you're the Patriots, you can say, we don't have to wait to get to a 4th year to sign Drake Maye to an extension if you have someone like CeeDee Lamb who's there. So I've got a new ranking now. I would say CeeDee Lamb first if he's available, then Amari Cooper, then Stephon Diggs, then T. Higgins, then Chris Godwin. And then that brings us to Brandon Aiyuk, who will be a free agent at the end of this year. Whew. If he wants to be here and he can really perform the way that he's performed, as I've talked about in the previous break, I would still have to put him behind CeeDee Lamb. And the reason why is because the way that CeeDee Lamb can break things going across, and because he's the main target, right? CeeDee Lamb has done this where he's getting all the targets, so he knows how to handle the volume and not lose. Where with Aiyuk, you still have Deebo Samuel on the other side of the field, and Christian McCaffrey really is the centerpiece of how they're running their offense. So out of Cooper, Godwin, Diggs, Higgins, Lamb, and Aiyuk, all guys who are free agents at the end of the season, I say CeeDee Lamb is target 1, Amari Cooper target 2, Aiyuk 3, then Diggs 4, T. Higgins 5, Chris Godwin 6. You like that, Nico?
I think it's a good list.
I think so. Again, why rush to go get Aiyuk now when I've just given you 6 legit? And keep in mind, you're still going to have all that cap space. So if I'm the Patriots, I say, you know what? Let's rock with what we go with. Maybe someone like an Adam Thielen, who I mentioned, may become a cap casualty for Carolina. You bring him in on a 1-year deal just to be able to give Jacoby Brissett a security blanket. And then when Drake Maye comes in, you have a receiver who's going to actively help the quarterback when plays are broken and stuff like that and so forth, right? These other 6 guys I mentioned all excite you once they get 15 yards down the field.
Oh, 100%. But, KJ, if the Niners came down a little bit on the price and said they would take your second-round pick because they think
not.
But the Patriots' second-round pick could be like pick 33. You know what I mean? Like pick 33, 34, 35.
We're talking about Kyle Shanahan and Brian and Brian Lynch. These guys are going to go for the neck, right? You want him so bad. How bad do you want him? It's going to cost your first-round pick. And I'm only on the phone with teams that I don't think are going to have a winning record because I could potentially get a top 10, top 15 pick back, get the receiver to replace him, and reset my entire money and still have Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. So if I'm the 49ers, I'm not budging off of that first-round square. And I don't want to talk to anybody that's I don't want to talk to the Chiefs for your first. I don't want no. I might as well, if I'm going to talk to the Chiefs, then I might as well talk to other teams about their second rounder, right? So it's either top 15 pick or second round. So if I feel like you're going to finish somewhere 7-10, 5-12, those are the teams I want to talk to. And now here's the other part of it. If I'm talking to those teams, how good are those teams really? So who would I be looking at if I'm talking to teams like that? You're talking to teams like the Panthers. You might be on the phone with the Seahawks, the Titans. So the Titans aren't going to take that phone call. They've just paid out what they paid out for Hopkins and for Ridley. So they're not taking that phone call. The Bears, they just stacked up on receivers. They're not going to do that. Indy, they might have a struggling season depending on what happens with Richardson coming back. I think because of Houston turning things around so fast and Jacksonville now having to make the commitment to do something. Yeah, that's Mac Jones will never see the field there, but so I think it changes for Indianapolis. Maybe you take the phone call for Indianapolis, but why would you if you're Indianapolis? It would be no different if you call the Patriots. You feel like the Patriots might even be a little worse than Indianapolis. So if I'm the Patriots, you know that in essence to get I know coming down on the price sounds good, but if I'm the one that you're reaching for the product, why should I come down on the price when I know it's your need? Or you just run out your 5-12 season, you protect your first-year quarterback, maybe he gets in there for maybe 5 to 7 games. If let's say he gets in there for 7 games, he goes 2-5, that's not the worst thing in the world, but he shows to be proficient. He can keep up with the speed of the game. If he has a couple of flashes, even in game losses, because you remember the first year with Mac, It wasn't like, hey, we need you to go out there and win a bunch of games. But, if go back to that 49ers game, just like, or that Dallas game. Hey, man, you really had some dog in that fight in you, and that's what we like to see. Keep doing those things, and good things will happen. It just didn't turn out that way. So with Drake Maye, you say, okay, after Jacoby Brissett can give you what you can get, I don't think that Drake Maye should start before. I think the first game he probably should start against is Jacksonville in that London game where you have no pressure of being on the road or you have no pressure of being at home. You're in a neutral site where a bunch of people wearing different team jerseys. No way to say neutral with more than that. So if you can get that going and then you say, hey, if this guy, wins 2 out of 7 games to finish the season, something like that, I'm not upset. But if you see flashes there, then when you go into free agency, you know what money you have. You may even have more cap space because you don't know what do you do with Judon at the end of the season, so forth. So you now have that flexibility to potentially go get a receiver, top line, and potentially go get a top offensive lineman as well. And just take the 5-12 season. All right, wrapping up the show next year on WEEI. Calls and text 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. KJ WEEI. Good Sunday to you.